unless you are constantly doing something different, something exciting, something innovative, you perhaps are not sure about your continuity, as a brand. So you have to do something either with the product attributes or the way you're distributing, the way you're communicating about the brand to be at the top.
Instead of saying, no, I will not do it. A 22-year-old, 2 skip levels down, is saying it in a room of 20 people. And not to me. He's saying it to the MD. Where does that confidence come from? Where does that spirit come from? I wish I could get 20% of that.
Maybe a couple of decades ago, you would tell your subordinate, do this. Why am I doing this? I don't know. What will my boss do with this? I don't know. Okay, so today when they understand, the quality of the output is also better, and not only for this generation, throughout your chain.
You know, the interview went fantastic. The guy was amazing. At the end, when he said that, you know what, our office is in Baroda, maybe in 2 years when the COVID is not there, you have to come. You know what he said to me? 23-year-old, 1-year experience in Capgemini, data science. He told me, sir, why are you asking me to come to Baroda? I said, no. These are strategy, all the GANs. You know what he told me at my face? Sir, I am in Dehradun. I'm talking to him from my bedroom. In front of me, my mom's food. I'm serving one of the multinational companies and 2 American clients sitting in the night. Why do you expect me to Baroda? What do I get out of it?
In a few months, that guy is able to help you know the nuances of the marketplace, which are different. And so I think it's a great opportunity. If you learn from other people, then it's a symbiotic relationship. You know, like you mentioned, the combination
is when I became partner, I was assigned a mentor, and he sort of gave me this advice to say that slow down to speed up. If you really want to move up in your career, you need to sort of slow down, reflect as to what is working, what's not working, as opposed to just keep doing, what you're good at, but not realizing what impact it has on others, on clients, on people. So I think that sort of has stuck with me and then has helped me in many ways. Slow down to speed up.
Yeah, it's a great topic to have, isn't it? This whole enigma about the millennials, the boomers to zoomers. that's a topic that we have this evening. So I guess all of us have gone through this whole transition of generations over our career, and as we all would agree, looking at perhaps our own children and also what we see across our organizations, I think the generations are starting to get more demanding, right? So they have a very different perspective to life, and all of this actually brings in a question, for the business, that how sure are you about your brand's continuity, right? My perspective is that the brand loyalty has a very different meaning today vis-a-vis what it was maybe a few years ago. And I think that's just to put that in perspective, that unless you are constantly doing something different, something exciting, something innovative, you perhaps are not sure about your continuity as a brand. So you have to do something either with the product attributes or the way you're distributing, the way you're communicating about the brand to be at the top there. So that's what I think.
I think the boomer or the zoomer. I don't know whether I'm a boomer or zoomer, to be honest. Maybe I'm the period of baby boomer, but I'm in the IT and digital, right? I have to be ever a zoomer because I've worked in the 5 generations of technology, right? Client servers, then the internet, then the mobility, then the cloud, and now Gen AI. So I don't know whether I'm a zoomer or the boomer, right? That's first thing for me. I still am. I have to connect to my son who is 22 and I am Rohtak. I have to connect to my CEO who is 64 and of some other generation. That's my view in that. And the second part of it is, so one of the things that, somebody asked that the question that, what's a light bulb moment? I was thinking of what is a light bulb moment. There are many probably, which came to my mind at the top is during the COVID, I was taking interviews. I was expanding my data science team at that time. So one of the guys from Capgemini, I'm just taking the name if it is permissible. So the guy is in, we were interviewing, almost at the end I was interviewing, and we were thinking of expanding our office in Baroda. Though office in Baroda, we were looking at work from home, but at some point in time we were saying that, you have to come to Baroda because it's our headquarters. The interview went fantastic. That guy was amazing. At the end, when he said that, our office is in Baroda, maybe in 2 years when the COVID is not there, you have to come. You know what he said to me? 23-year-old, 1-year experience in Capgemini, data science. He told me, sir, why are you asking me to come to Baroda? I said, oh, no, these are strategy, all the GANs. You know what he told me at my face? Sir, I am in Dehradun. I am talking to you from my bedroom. In front of me, my mom's food. I am serving one of the multinational companies and 2 American clients sitting in the night. Why do you expect me to Baroda? What do I get out of it? Right? That's to me a light bulb moment. And they can tell me at the face, a CDIO at that time also, I'm still a CDIO. They don't care about it. So I'll touch base with that, the brand part of it. In my view, this generation, some brands could connect the dots at every generation. Even in that respect also, when I see my son, he's a very good rebellion guy that I calibrate with, right? I don't think the Siemens has a great respect for him compared to Microsoft or compared to even the Zoom. That's my view. I don't know whether I'm right or wrong.
I think it's a bit of a mixed bag. You have enough of the fresh batch of graduates, postgraduates, CAs who are coming out of smaller towns who still think like us, at least when they start, and are ready to learn, listen, don't have the attitude, and sometimes, very honestly, don't have the guts to say it on our faces. It changes very quickly. The rub-off effect is very fast. But at the same time, you have the generation or the students or the younger professionals who are growing up in metros and who have grown up seeing these, who have had way more opportunities than that category of people. So at my organization, I have 30 people reporting into me. It's a small team, but that team has people from the age of 21 to the age of 60. I work with pretty much everybody who has either is on the verge of retirement, is going or has retired from a lot of public sector organizations, which means they have joined organizations like SBI, etc., as after doing their PO exams. And the only difference between the two is a certain degree of humility and not having the guts. It's just so much more easier for the younger ones to speak up and say no. I don't think we or people older than us have naturally been accustomed to being able to just say no. We don't want to say yes.
Or assert themselves.
Yes. Just polite. It doesn't have to be rude, but just the idea of saying no is so difficult that we will look for any other reason except to just clearly say, these are my reasons, and say no and walk away. We may not have had the luxury of walking away. The example you gave is about opportunities, about a certain degree of cushion, income, wealth, whatever, financial security, which allows them to do all of that. But the fundamental difference between people staying on and leaving today is a very telling infographic which started when people started talking about quiet quitting. This generation of people who are working will not submit to unreasonable demands or unsaid expectations. We've all grown up with that as professionals, unfortunately or fortunately. So whether it's unreasonable demands, we've not had the guts to say no. We've thought it rude, wrong, culturally. That's how we've been brought up. That's how we are as Indians. I don't know which it is. It could be a mixed bag, but we wouldn't say no. And unreasonable expectations, it's not even unreasonable. It's just unsaid expectations, because our seniors and our peers have set expectations in terms of you need to be working for so much, you need to be in the office for so long, you need to be schmoozing for so long, you need to be seen for so long. We will try to adhere. This generation, the younger ones, don't care. For a lot of people in the middle layer, COVID has done that, but I think we are very far away as a community of professionals to be able to accept that. So I learned from both sides.
So are you saying they are irreverent?
That's extreme. I think they've just figured themselves out much earlier than we could. I still can't say no to my boss. I will be like, I will work out reason. I will not just say no for the heck of it. I'll first think about rationalizing it and then politely asking, maybe saying, is it okay if I don't do this? Instead of saying, no, I will not do it. A 22-year-old 2 skip levels down is saying it in a room of 20 people. And not to me. He's saying it to the MD. Where does that confidence come from? Where does that spirit come from? I wish I could get 20% of that. I'd be a different person.
I think in all of this, you have to learn, first of all, it's incumbent on the manager or the leader, whatever you want to use, to adapt themselves to the audience that you work with. I'll give you an example of myself. I started my career in brand as a brand manager. So you deal with advertising agencies, they have their own way of working, and you kind of become very informal in how you interact with people. And then after 4 or 5 years of doing this, I moved to a sales job in a very orthodox, hierarchical sales environment, where if I tried to be informal with my guys, they felt like, hey, boss hai, let him be the boss now. What's he doing? Try to be my friend. So after some time, I realized trying to be a friend isn't working for me. So you have to adapt. And then later on, I became the senior guy in the room, and I had to deal with youngsters. Again, they don't want you as a friend. You're too far away to be a friend. But at the very least, what you have to do is at least create the environment in which they feel comfortable and leave them alone. And that's what they want. They believe that they know their job. That's why they are there. They'll come to you if they need support or infrastructure or whatever it is to get the job done. You should back off at that stage and make sure that they have all the right things to get their job done, and don't try to be a friend unnecessarily. At least give them the liberty.
Correct. That works. That loyalty comes from a little bit of that liberty to deliver and that belief that they're getting the space and resources to do what they came to do. That works.
So my question was that how do you motivate people from younger generations? So these people are so clear with what they want, and sometimes they may be asking something which the organization may not offer also. So how do you keep them motivated to work for your organization? So they have so many options to choose from. So can you share the experiences on that side?
So I just want to kind of qualify this question further. That is it somewhere linked to what kind of an education qualification you've had, and hence what kind of level and salary level you're working at, because if I was to look at the counter today, you still have youngsters joining, let's say, a consulting organization, putting in 15 to 18 hours without cribbing. They may quit after some time if they burn out, but they're working.
So Dinesh, I agree with your question, and I see that dichotomy. The same person, because he wants to be in an ABC consulting business, is ready to put in 15 hours and will have a peer, a batchmate, a friend who does not want to work more than 8 hours, wants his hour and a half for the gym and an hour to do reading or meditation, and will never go to a consulting business, will walk away from this opportunity saying, I will work from Dehradun, I will do 3 jobs, I am happy to put in, I'll work at night, I will not wake up early in the morning, but it will be remote.
She's touching the issue of moonlighting as well.
No. So is it something to do with the profession? I mean, maybe an IT professional can do that, right? So is it limited to the kind of work that you do?
She is talking about a bank.
No, it's okay. It's easy to catch this in a bank, and that way back, very early in COVID, there was enough data which consulting houses had, where they could figure out that there was PF being deposited into the person's account from multiple organizations. It became quite apparent. But it's not just about moonlighting, and it's not just about industry, it's not just about banking. Fundamentally, like us, we were a diverse lot in our respective batches, and when we started working, when we are working, even if 10 people join an organization on the same day, even in the 40s, each person is different. This generation is like that. Each one of them is different. I don't think we have any context by what they studied, where they studied, how they studied, or what salary level they are coming in. I don't think so. The only within India, because I hire from across institutes and across locations, the only thing I'm seeing is the metro kids, if I may call them kids, have a very different level of confidence. The smaller towns are still aspirational. They're still slightly old-fashioned, but I mean it when I say the rub-off is so
But his example
fast.
was this guy from Dehradun.
But he studied outside. He went back. I'm sure if it was not COVID, this is someone who's worked in a metro city, and then in COVID working from Dehradun. I can put money on it. I can put money on it.
But when you say that metro, so just to give you context, I have a son who's 28 years. I know he works for almost 13, 14 hours a day. He's with Bain. He doesn't crib. At the same time, he's very clear. He wants to enjoy. So if he wants to meet his friends, he wants to socialize, he will find time. And very often, I have found that we have had conversations which, if I was to go back and think about how mature I was when I was his age, and I'm not talking about today, I'm even talking about 5 years earlier or 10 years earlier, I personally feel that this generation is way matured. Okay? Now coming back to the fact is this based on how they educated or what they read or what they see? I always believe that definitely impacts. But at the same time, your friend circle impacts a lot. What kind of programs you watch? Because there was a time when we all used to watch Ramayana, Mahabharata and those kind of Hum Log and those kind of programs on TV. Today, there are many other programs that you can watch on OTT and other platforms. Now, I always and most of these kids are watching some kind of OTT programs. And I do believe that this definitely conditions their thinking process. It definitely impacts how they communicate, how they speak, etc. And I think, again, the kind of opportunity that they have to seek information without really going out. For us, beyond the newspaper and beyond reading probably Britannia and Encyclopedia and these things, there are very limited opportunities, at least when I was young, at my disposal to get information. Okay? But in today's day, you want something, hold on. You ask Alexa, you just Google, you just get that information.
Or ChatGPT.
Or ChatGPT, exactly. So I think this generation is way more aware, way more knowledgeable, way more clear. And as Lipika also said, I do agree with that fact that sometimes there was a situation where, we could not go to a place, someone's house, because someone was dropping by, unannounced. So now we were thinking, what do we do? Should we go? Should we not go? And we were in a dilemma for almost 10 minutes. Jay, our son, came and said, hey, listen, what's your problem? Why don't you just explain the situation? And he was so clear. And we were actually muddled, whether to say, how the person will feel, whether the person feel hurt or etc. etc. He simply said, and we said, yes, it reasons out. We said that, the person understood. The person didn't come, obviously, because it was unannounced and we had already a commitment. So the clarity of thinking that this generation has is phenomenal. Having said that, look at the count of the number of people in this generation. You will have all kinds of people. So it doesn't mean that everyone will be, all boomers will be same, all zoomers will be same. It can't be. They will be influenced by the surroundings and...
It shouldn't be, because, see, obviously I think this generation and, perhaps the next one will have a huge amount of task. Right? And I'm sorry, I'm going back to Mr. Narayan Murthy's infamous statement. But yeah, they will have to work, right? They'll have to work, and they'll enjoy working that.
Sorry, I defend the statement, by the way.
Sorry, you defend. I defend the statement. I defend the statement. I defend the statement as well. Not in terms of 70 hours, but in terms of the fact that we will have to work. We have worked. Are we trying to say that all these guys are so irresponsible that they will not put in their best to make sure that their personal growth happens and their company's growth happens and the country's growth happens? I don't think so.
Not at all.
No. They will put their best. I don't think any of them are slackers. They're just very, very clear that working unsmart or working just for the sake of working, hard work is not it.
To
So
work
it's
smart.
the classic, work
Work
smart.
smart.
You don't have
Work
to slog.
hard, but work smart.
Slogging is not the solution. They've cottoned on to that.
And party harder.
That's a
That
point.
all of us also want to do.
Yeah.
No, we wanted to do, but we never landed up
We
doing.
didn't do as much. We were too
These
conscientious.
guys are smart enough to free up their time to do what they should be doing.
Yeah, so you let me know what you want from me, I'll deliver it. Whether I do it in 5 hours or I do it in 20 hours, that's, you shouldn't be bothered about that.
So first, I'll go back to that 70%, 70 hours, sort of why I support that. Support that in the sense, see, we have done, I'm an ex-LNT, so we did some real analysis to IoT and analytics. What is the Indian context, what is the productivity? It is 55%, by the way, right? I'm particular sector I'm talking about, 55 to 60%. But if you look at what he said is 70 hours, if you multiply by 60%, it is 42 hours. It is equivalent to what EU does, right? Because our behavior of work, I was in Lloyd's banking at some point, people just work like that. They come at 7:30, they go at 4:30, sticking to and gluing to the, to the computer. Whether they work or don't work is a different thing, but they stuck their butt on the chair, right? For all 7 or 8 hours. Whereas what we do, we go 20 minutes, we go there, chat there, chai, all these things we do. And we stretch the day till 8 o'clock. We actually do more than 70 hours, but if you look at our productivity, is 40 hours. This is my own example I can tell. I know how you work in TCS and
Suddenly a
Cognizant
mail
things.
comes or a call happens at 7 and it goes on till
2 o'clock also.
You know, you said a beautiful thing, and if I may just draw your attention to one TED talk, and I would just recommend that you all should watch one TED talk called Why Work Doesn't Happen at Workplace. So it's about a 17-minute video. It's about in 2011. And I still remember that because I would have seen that at least 20, 25 times, and because I would have shown that video across. I'm just going to highlight some 3 things from here, and it really got me thinking. They say that exactly, some of the things that you were saying. He asks a question to the audience. It's a TED talk, right? So there's an audience. He asks a question. When was the last time you had a full work day where you were completely uninterrupted? No one raised the hand. Okay, chalo. When was the last time you had 3 hours uninterrupted? Many could not raise the hand. 2 hours? Because you would have a phone ring, you would have somebody coming in for some query or some disturb. Then he explained a very good comparison between work and sleep. Now you will say, what is work and sleep? He says, do you go to sleep or you go towards sleep? So the fact is, supposing you're sleeping and somebody comes and wakes you up, hey, get up. So, and then say, okay, thank you, what's the time? Okay, you give the time and say, now you go to sleep. Can you go to sleep? No, you can't go to sleep, right? You go towards sleep. Let's assume the person has gone to sleep again and you wake him up again. Okay, do you want to come tomorrow? Just let me know quickly. He would have disturbed you for only a second. And the person has lost his sleep for the rest of the evening, the rest of the night. He says, similarly, you don't go to work, you go towards work. Suddenly you are in thinking. Someone comes and disturbs you. And you have lost it. And therefore, he explained, therefore, where do people work? People work, go to office early when there's no one around. People work on flights. People work in their attic. People work where there's nobody to disturb them. Okay, so this is one thing which is very fundamental about work. So coming back to the point about the 42 or 70 hours, whatever the case is, my belief is it's not about 70 hours. It's about, are you allowed, do you have the space to do what you have to deliver? And I always believe if you have the space to do, your productivity will improve. Obviously, if you don't want to deliver, that's a separate issue. But if you have the capability to deliver, give them the space. And I have always believed that this has always worked.
Attitudes change over time. One is for yourself and obviously the generations that you work with. When we joined organizations, it was drilled down that you get in there, you stay there, you hang on, and the company will take care of you. the company will take care of you. Today is never about the company taking care of you. So what can the company do for me? You know, that's a fundamental shift which
Because
we
they
all have
believe
to.
you have to take care of yourself.
Yeah, you have to take care of yourself.
Same
And
Mr. Murthy said that you should be loyal to your job, not to your company.
yeah. So
He
all
only
I'm
said
saying-
few years back, I think a decade back.
So if you look at that, if today's generation is asking for what is it that you are going to do which will help me grow, that's what we have to look at. In the earlier days it was, and that's why you have, the productivity might have been not 50%, might have been 25% if you had done your survey 25 years ago. Because people were just there, you know, I'll be there, I'll come, I'll record presence, I'll be there, I'll hope. Today is not about being there. They don't want to be there. They want to perform, they want to do. I see a big difference in the way the youngsters work. As long as they are challenged, as long as they believe they will grow, get your personal space, do these things. So it's a very different thing. You can't expect people to come, and I don't think we should expect people to come at 9 o'clock in the morning and, you know, swipe a card and, you know, those things are archaic principles. You have to change. As long as the job is getting done,
You will deliver.
deliver.
You will deliver.
Look at that as, you know, that is the critical element.
Yeah, but that
not-
brings in a lot of challenge on measurement of output, right? Because in certain jobs, the output is very easily measurable. Sales, for example, production. The question is, you know, you allow the flexibility of time, measurement then becomes very subjective.
But what do you measure? Is it the presence in the office at the swiping time, or do you measure what has been given to you?
Outcomes.
And what is outcome? That's what. So we need to have a clarity on
Yeah,
that.
so are your KRAs so well defined that, let's say, an HR person's output, you're able to measure that, you know, what was her KRA and has she delivered as per that KRA? So I think all of these are some of the challenges, and these cannot be manually monitored. Maybe, you know, there would be some intervention on technology that will have to come in, which actually sees how many, I mean, there are already technologies which sees how much of login you're doing, what kind of work you're doing. So maybe, you know, I think all of those factors will have to come in. But you know, what worries me is that, you know, in terms of what we are all discussing, that, you know, one of the leadership qualities typically we say is empathy, right? So are we saying that the future leaders will not be empathetic? Because that's how we're talking about the new generation, right? They don't have an empathy.
I disagree. They're also
very
extremely
provocative,
aware. Confidence and spirit and assertiveness does not mean they are unempathetic. I don't think that is the case. They're empathetic enough. They're just smart enough not to let that empathy blackmail them into doing what they don't want to do. That is the bottom line with them. That clarity is amazing.
In fact-
It takes
in
decades
fact,
to
now
acquire that.
In future leaders, empathy quotient has to be even much higher than what it used to be when it was all rules based and hierarchy based. Their empathy didn't matter. Here, unless you have the empathy and the connect with that younger generation, you will not be able to get.
That, and plus they will be more driven. The expectations on output will be much higher. The pressures on the companies will be much higher as we go along. So if you don't have that empathy, it's going to be
No, but when you
chaotic.
say, okay, so my question is that when we say, will they not have empathy? So the corollary is, are we saying that all the leaders of today have empathy, show empathy? No. So that's not true. That's not true.
Yourself. There's a mirror.
Okay, it's not true. But I feel these guys who are coming in now, this comes straight to the point. And coming back to your point on the KRA is an annual affair. Today, KRA, you may do it for a certain promotion, increment, growth, etc. You must do a KRA. But today, feedback is not waited till the end of the year. Feedback is instant. So if there's a deliverable, if you have not delivered, the feedback is there. It may be recorded, it may not be recorded. So with the new generation, it's a collection of these feedbacks, which eventually becomes a KRA. So my view is very simple, that the question is, will they have empathy or not? Just like today's generation, everyone may or may not have empathy. Likewise, the next generation, everyone will not be the same. But many of them I see today, because they can speak the mind, I feel they are more genuine. And they are more transparent.
Genuine, I agree.
And if you are transparent, you receive the message. If I feel that somebody is talking to me very transparently, I receive the message differently. If I feel that the person is trying to, ghuma firake, trying to explain to me, I don't accept the message very well. So if somebody is, and these people are very transparent, so I feel their ability to communicate is very effective.
Agree, but I can talk of personally. I don't think my son is as empathetic as I was to my parents. He's not as empathetic towards me, or to my wife. And I think that's what I see across whatever friends, children I have in the same age group, right? Okay, they may care. I mean, it's not that they will they're completely uncaring, but not the way we are about our parents.
Are you saying respectful or empathetic?
No, respectful,
I think
empathetic.
they don't show it. This
Empathetic.
generation don't show it. They're more stoic compared to what we are. So going back to your question is, how do we motivate these people? To my mind, top 15% and bottom 15% are always both ways highly motivated, not to do and to do. It's a question of middle 60%. And what I see in my line, actually, you can see, is our generation has done a little bit of disservice in this industry. Many of us actually learned so much, but we have not given it back. So we have not possibly generated the second line, third line, or we don't know how to do it, right? So constant coaching these guys is extremely important. And my experience is very little different, because I came back from UK after 12 years. I thought, we are fantastic now, we've grown, and this industry, software industry, export, too much of a change, right? But when I came back, I saw that skills are not developed, right? They are my two generations, already one and a half generation down the line. My son's generation is 3 generations down, right? Now, 30 years I'm talking about. And I see that we are not being able to, as I said, I'm a boomer and the zoomer both. Not many have filled in that gap or filled that void. What happened is, that's why whatever we have learned our life lesson, right? Wherever we went. When we came back, but I see the void in technicality, see the void in communication. So what I take my job as very seriously on the coaching side. And I tell my bosses as well, So my job is coaching these days. As somebody who is a mentor, leader, something like that. I keep saying to my team, and last 7-8 years I've been telling, that my grey hair and your coding acumen, your brilliance from the classroom, they're a lethal combination. And if this cocktail is good, I'm telling you that they and the country and all of them will be progressing very well. But which is not exercised by many of us. And this is something that empathy in a different scale, for a different scale, right? So empathy for the generation itself, not for 1 or 2%, right? How do we get them grow? And each of the cases I see today are different in my case. The data analytics or the data engineering or the digital case, I see all different teams and all differently abled. In terms of the skill set I'm talking about, right?
Sudip, I really wish my peers understood this. The stock complaint in the boardroom is attrition is too high. HR needs to do something to retain people.
Ask me my attrition.
We don't pay enough. And I'm like, why is it just them? People are not just living for money.
2021, I recruited, after 800 people hackathon, I recruited 11 guys. Within 9 months, I lost 10 of them. Just one left, and she's still there, because possibly she's from the local. Though I recruited her from Australia, but she's still there because she's a local. All 10 left. I'm rebuilding my team.
So this is important to
Go to
acknowledge.
the construction sector. I was close to that, right? 40% attrition. 40% you don't get people. So it's a different attract.
Yeah, so attrition, as you rightly said, is not just compensation. Again, from our experience. So
it's not only compensation.
Yeah, of course, compensation is a base, but they expect a clarity today. What are you trying to do, right? And contrary to what we all say, but they also believe in the values of the company. Very, very surprisingly, the young generation actually values the high values of the company. They're very, very value driven, right? Which is a great thing. So unless they see that communication happening, unless they are heard, they need to be heard. You can't tell them,
I know,
baad
you
mein baat
do it.
karenge, you baad mein baat karenge, you can't. You have to hear them out. when they come in. And you're right that they can just knock on your door and share their. You have to hear them.
But today, one thing I also see that with this change, what is happening is people of our generation also have also adapting themselves beautifully. No, not only towards them, towards our peer group also. So I think there's a rub-off effect. I think let's talk about the positive effect of these young guys on some of us. In at least for me, it has. I've attempted to change myself quite a bit when I look at I think see a lot of positives in them. And today, I always believe that with them, if you explain to them the purpose, you give them clarity of what is the objective, they will find a way. And it makes so much. Rather, there was a time, I mean, maybe a couple of decades ago, you would tell your subordinate, do this. Why am I doing this? I don't know. What will my boss do with this? I don't know. Okay. So today, when they understand, the quality of the output is also better, and not only for this generation, throughout your chain.
I think this gives all of us an opportunity for the reverse mentoring also that happens. In my case, for example, e-commerce was a new space. You're used to traditional channels. E-commerce was a new space. So you bring in a person and sit with him, understand from the opposite side of the tree. You bring somebody in from an Amazon, sit with him, and in a few months, that guy is able to help you know the nuances of the marketplace, which are different. And so I think it's a great opportunity. If you learn from other people, then it's a symbiotic relationship. Like you mentioned, the combination is lethal.
This is also very important for us to understand. Us means our generation. We are a little bit dogmatic. I've seen that. Many of us, I can tell you that. I mean, we believe that this is the rule, and in fact, today only I was discussing this. Yes man syndrome. If you look at, many of us are class first boys toppers, and there is many companies out there who only take toppers. And I see that those companies in an innovation scale, they are actually a lot less, because there are these yes men. All toppers are whether very.
Don't look at me, I'm nowhere near that.
No, I mean, the toppers said, you know what, I did, I'm also a backbencher. In fact, I started talking about diversity is not about gender, it is not about the looks or the color. Diversity of the backbench and front bench. Look at all of you, look at your classmates and look at who is the most innovative guy in the class. He must be a backbencher, who is to write a lot of parodies, who is to do a lot of good painting, good singing, all backbenchers, not the toppers, hardly. Right? So we have to understand who is the backbencher. In the team, have that backbencher and the front benchers. I'm telling you, you'll be doing a good job.
That brings me to a very interesting point. So, having been a CA, when my son was pursuing CA, I thought it was my birthright and my responsibility to tell him how he should study. Okay. And I tried to push him. I knew it was not registering. And my second time when I pushed him, after that my wife separately came, listen, he has his own way, you have studied in your own way, not necessarily that the way you have done it, he also has to do it. Okay? He has been performing, let him do it. Fortunately, he's also CA today. He's gone way ahead of me in academics.
There's a very telling quote which I live by, where there is a parent as a manager. You're not bringing up your child. You cannot bring up your child the way you were brought up. Because they are not going to be living in a world that you grew up and lived in.
हमारे ज़माने में ऐसा होता था, वो नहीं चलेगा. So you have to allow. No, you have to accept that there are other ways in which you can also achieve the same thing. I think we all have to be very accommodative.
So I would like to add here that when I started teaching 2 years back, I thought that I'm very close to the students who are come to join the MBA program. I said that I'm in the same generation, but now I find that the generation is changing every 5 years or so. So when we were studying 6-7 years back, course outline was given to us. Course outline is given. These are the topics. This is midterm. Now we are discussing the course outline with the students. Like again, the point we discussed here, that we discussed that okay, these are the topics we are studying, and we have to explain at the beginning of the course why we are studying these topics. If there's a midterm, why there's a midterm? If there's a quiz, why there's a quiz? So this generation, if you clarify things at the beginning, they are on board.
So much of freedom they take, and so much of freedom that we have to give. See, there's a little bit of lesson from my family as well. My wife is a gynecologist. She talks on the table also she gets a call, talks about gynecological problem, right? And we went to this one of one of the birthdays of my mother-in-law. We were in the restaurant, we were discussing, came to the gynecological topic, and I saw that my mother-in-law, my wife, my son, all are talking the same language. And you know, that way, in fact, I saluted my mother-in-law as well, who was, by the way, who was direct disciple of Rabindranath Tagore as well. Yeah. So how much you have to, at 83, 84, I mean, you have to open up yourself to do this with a 20-year-old kid you are talking on a gynecological health. I mean, amazing. Yeah, and if you don't do that, I will not be getting you on the table. I'm telling you, he'll be definitely going there somewhere, he'll be dancing.
Yeah, but you know that if you now sort of turn the whole discussion to, you know, running the business the way we are, and you know this generation is making a lot of important decisions, right? Whether it's buying appliances in your house, buying a car, even buying a house maybe, right? So you know what is worrying is how do you keep appealing your brand to them, or you know your product category to them. So I had a very interesting when I joined Anchor 2008 post Panasonic acquisition. So I said, great, this is a brand which is iconic, so पानी में बहते पानी में हाथ धो लो, okay, that it's already and I remember the first focus group discussion we had. Anchor as a brand did not figure in their discussion, right? And across the country, when we did this survey, we actually found that though by numbers we are a market leader, but in none of the markets individually we were a leader, right? And this came as a rude shock. And then you realize, and then you get deeper into it, you realize that your brand is no longer considered to be, modern, innovative, sexy, right? So you're not appealing to this brand at all, to this generation at all. And a lot of decision making has come down. The average age of buying homes have come down. So we obviously had to do a lot of things with the brand. Create that Anchor Panasonic connect, bring in some innovative products. We still had a long way to go. But I'm just saying that this is how it can hit you suddenly. An iconic brand suddenly disappears, right? From the consideration set.
No, that's why I'm saying that it's a brand also needs to be relevant to the generation. And the kind of respect Google has or Microsoft, Apple has for this generation, or even the current generation, or just before that. On these companies, they don't have that much on the GE and the Siemens and Panasonic and the Sonys. And Sony, how much respect we had on Sony? Where is Sony? My son doesn't talk about Sony at all. He talks directly on some other brands, right? So I think brands also have to, if required, you have to change your name of the brand as well, or maybe extend your brand. I mean, if you really want to do a little bit
Microsoft did a good job of reinventing them.
Yeah, which Amul does actually, to my mind. And I see that all the time. They're doing it, their ads, if I look at last 20 years, they're continuously on the contemporary topic, right? But I think...
Yeah, so I think that's a secret of all the brands which are lasting, right? So today, obviously, you always take an example from Unilever, you can't go without it. So Lux is a great example, right? So they have been reinventing themselves. One is in terms of the brand ambassadors they use. They use the contemporary heroines, right? That's one. Second is they keep innovating in terms of the fragrances, right? Putting some flower petals into the soap, whatever. They keep innovating with the packaging, make it more attractive. So yeah, so I guess that's what whether it's in communication, product attributes, you have to keep innovating. Maybe in the distribution, right? The whole distribution expectation today has changed. You want everything on your platter.
That's why Zepto furnished.
So can I ask you all a question? You've all worked for a long time. What for you was a turning moment, whether it's about someone older, someone a peer, or a younger generation? What did you learn? What would you leave somebody who's watching this, listening to this, with a thought as saying, this worked for me? It may not, they may choose to accept or not, but something that really worked.
So I'll share a story. When I joined one of my previous organizations in '92, in '94 the company was in the doldrums, and one of the ex-leaders came back to be the MD of the company. And he was a successful leader, so he didn't have to prove anything in that sense. And he took me along with him for one of the consumer durables exhibitions, which happens in Cologne and places like that. And I saw him working like a salesman there. He was the MD of the company, but he was going knocking on doors, promoting the organization. And I saw the level of ownership, I saw a degree of commitment, and I saw, the desire to get things done. And that impression has never left me. Okay, a guy is an MD, he could very well have, sent some other flunky along and get the job done. But he took up on himself that no, the company is in trouble, you need to get things done, and I'm going to lead from the front. And that lesson has never left me. That when it's required, you become the salesman. When it's required, you be the MD. When it's required, you do what is required. Yeah, that I can never forget.
That's phenomenal adaptability and resilience also. Yeah. You can put ego aside. You know what, understanding and still being close, knowing what it takes to run your business, correct, do your business, sell your product. Farokh, you've been awfully quiet.
So, I've been with the firm 37 years now, and I made partner at a very young age, around 32 years, and I was like a go-getter, raring to go, quite aggressive, at times rubbing off people the wrong way. But as I reflect back as to why I survived and thrived over the years, is when I became partner, I was assigned a mentor, and he sort of gave me this advice to say that slow down to speed up. If you really want to move up in your career, you need to sort of slow down, reflect as to what is working, what's not working, as opposed to just keep doing what you're good at, but not realizing what impact it has on others, on clients, on people. So I think that sort of has stuck with me and then has helped me in many ways. Slow down to speed up.
Nice. I'll save that for myself.
Great, great. We had a great interaction, I guess.
What about you? You need to tell us your story. What worked for you? You've switched.
So
different
what
stuff.
works for me is that I listen to people. That is something I'm working on from the last few years, that the best way to understand people is to listen to them. So I listen to people who are from my older generation, I listen to people who are from my younger generation, and then I try
you listen to your wife?
most of the times.
Choice nahi hai.
And I'm telling this, I think this can get uploaded on YouTube. I can show also that I've told this publicly also. But yeah, so listening helps a lot, I think. And most of the conversation we had is that about genuine communication. So the generation is very clear with what they want. If we are very clear in terms of what we want from them and what we can offer, I think things will be much more brighter in the future.
So I found what I was looking for. Let me just read that off. One of our greatest mistakes is imposing our suffering on the next generation. The fact that you endured unreasonable demands and unclear expectations doesn't mean others should. The responsibility of leaders is not to repeat the errors of the past, it's to improve the future. So every time I have something that I'm frustrated
It's called
with.
the displacement effect.
It is. But I read this and I'm like, I'm taking something away from it. It's okay. I need to learn from my older, very old seniors whose every answer comes from first principles, to the very young, fresh hires who believe they know it all, but I'm like, can you just listen to me a little bit more? How do I?
Great.
Great,
Thanks.
great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.